everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again to the Bebe Means Business Show. You know what it is. This is the show where you get all your tips, advice, education, knowledge, information about anything and everything to do with business. We breathe business here on this show. That's all we do. Nothing else, just business. We also like to bring you industry experts and experienced entrepreneurs who share their advice and wisdom with you to help you on your business journey and become financially free. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, I'm your dedicated host. I'm Bebe Clement, and I run a group of small successful companies. And I'm also the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur, which has sold over 5,000 copies. 5,000 people can't be wrong. And you can get that book on Amazon for $12.99. I'll also get it from my website, www.bbclement.com. Many of you always ask me, how do we connect with you online? And once again, I just want to share my contact details. And just take a couple of minutes right now to connect with me. If you're a Twitter kind of person, my Twitter handle is @BebeClement. That's @BebeClement. And if you are an Instagram kind of person, it's BEBE_Clement. And if you're more LinkedIn, if that's more your groove, then just type in my name and I will definitely come up. Okay, so I read an interesting quote that I wanted to share with you. I read this a few years ago, and it was a quote by Robert Kiyosaki. You all remember Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he said something quite interesting. He said, knowledge is the new currency and public speaking is the new bank. If you can, I'd encourage you to write that down. Knowledge is the new currency and public speaking is the new bank. So I thought about that for a while, and I thought, this guy, he's so right, because we're in the information age. People want to know. So people want to know about your products. But in order to speak publicly about your products, you need to make sure that you know how to speak clearly, confidently, and convincingly about your product or service. Now, particularly for the times in which we are in now, this is even more important. Many people have approached me and said, Bebe, I don't know what to do because I can't meet with my clients on a one-to-one or face-to-face. I feel like I'm losing touch with them. I feel like I'm not connected to them anymore. So I thought of ways in which you can stay connected with your clients. And one of them is to hold a webinar. So today, I'm going to be speaking about how to use a webinar as a marketing tool. How to use a webinar as a marketing tool. Can I encourage you to get your pen and paper? You want to write some of the things I'm going to say. You're going to want to write them down because they're really important that you know them. How to stay connected with your clients during this COVID pandemic and how to use a webinar as a marketing tool. Okay, here we go. So the first thing you need to do is decide what you want to talk about. If you're going to hold a webinar, you have to decide, what exactly am I offering? What do I want to talk about? And here's a tip. You are not the target audience, okay? You are not the target audience. So it's not what you like, it is what will your target audience like. And there's a good rule of thumb that I use to keep me on track. Never let what you want to say get in the way of what your clients need to hear. I'll say that again. Never let what you want to say get in the way of what your clients need to hear. So it's not what would turn you on. It's not what you want to know about. It's what do your clients, particularly paying clients, what do they want to hear? So the first thing is, it might be a good idea for you to define your offering, and then find out what area of what you do people want information on now. Not what do they want information on a year ago, because we're in completely different circumstances. What do they want information on now? So one of the things that you could look at is, okay, what is trending? And of course, social media is fantastic for finding that out. So last week I had a webinar on how to build your own wealth without leaving your day job. And the reason why I held that webinar is because I had checked what was trending and what people are searching for. So if you go to Google, look at what people are searching for. Go to Twitter, see what has been searched or what has been spoken about in the last 1 hour that has the highest number of hits and things like that. So I went and had a look, and I found that people were searching how to start a business was almost top of the Google map. How to start a business. So as you know, I talk about business and entrepreneurship, but I can talk about many aspects of business. I can talk about how to find customers. I can talk about how to grow your business. I can talk about how to prepare your business for sale. But that's not what people were looking for. They were looking for, how do they start a business? So I did a bit more research, and then I discovered that not only were they looking for how do I start a business, but it seemed like they were generally afraid to leave the security of their job. So it was not a situation like the topic of my book. The topic of my book is how to go from employee to entrepreneur. So what I was looking at was not people who wanted to leave their job and then jump into business because they had a good business idea or that kind of thing. These were people who they actually wanted to stay in their job, but they were aware of the times that their position or their job was vulnerable because of, COVID is coming, not COVID, furlough is coming to an end, redundancies are on the increase, things like that. So they know that their job is vulnerable, but actually they want to stay in their job. They just want to make sure that if anything happens, they have another income stream and they're not left, not knowing what to do financially. So I started to look around that. And so I looked for businesses that they could do while they were still employed, and decided to talk about that. So what I decided to do was gather a group of people who could talk about different industries or different businesses or different things that they could do while they were still employed. So I put together a team, and one of them was speaking about how to invest in property with very little money. One was speaking about how to invest in cryptocurrency. One was speaking about how to invest in stocks and shares. And I spoke about how to start a small business. None of those things required them to leave their job. They could do that. They could set these things up and still stay employed, particularly in these times when the majority of us are working from home. It's even the best time in which to do it. So the rule of thumb, or the point I'm trying to get across, is look for what people want. If you look for what people want, you won't have to spend money and time trying to convince them as to this is why they should attend your webinar. Just give them what they want. People will pay for what they want. It's that simple. So once you have done that, once you have decided what you're going to offer in your webinar and the topic, you then look at, okay, so who exactly is my target audience for this? Who exactly wants to listen to this? Is it more appealing to men than women? And you'll see from what I'm going to say later on why this is so important. So for instance, as regards this radio show, every week my producer and I, we sit down and we look at the stats. And we've discovered that week in, week out, more men watch this show than women. I don't know why that is. I don't know whether because men are more interested in business. So I find that a bit strange. But notwithstanding, it definitely, the guys whip the girls hands down every week for this show. So you need to find out, okay, who exactly is my target audience? Is it more men than women? Is it a particular race? Does this topic appeal to people of a particular race? Is it a particular age group that are interested in what I'm about to talk about? All these will determine your marketing strategy for your webinar. So this is really, really important that you get that right. So once you have decided that you're going to hold the webinar, you've identified your target audience, and you know the topic that you're going to talk about, you then have to look for marketing material. And most people, when it comes to webinars, they use digital flyers. So I'm going to concentrate on a digital flyer. So then you have to decide the design, the colors, and all that. And all that will be driven or informed by your target audience. So, for example, if you are, if what you're speaking about is aimed mainly at women, then softer colors such as lilac, light blue, that kind of thing are more appealing to women. So those are the kind of colors that you would have on your flyer. If you were targeting mainly men, then you'd have bolder colors like red and black or dark browns, things like that, because psychologists tell us that those kind of colors appeal more to men. So then once you've decided your colors for your flyer, and that's really important that you get the colors right. Once you've decided your colors for your flyer, you then have to decide the wording of the flyer. Now, remember, you may have a great webinar in theory, but if you cannot communicate the efficacy of your webinar to your target audience in a language that they understand, you will not draw them in. So again, it's really important to understand the language of your demographic, and every demographic has a particular language. So let's say you were aiming the webinar at young people. It would be important for you to use their slang, things like bougie, it's sick, it's dope, that kind of thing. All that would have to be on the flyer because that's their target, that's your target audience. If you were targeting like lawyers or professionals, they too have their own lingo. Okay, so the wording on the flyer is really, really important. Okay, just to let you know that we're live and this is an interactive program, I want to hear your views on anything that I'm discussing. Indeed, put your questions in the chat. If you're joining us from Facebook, you'll be on @Starr Radio UK Facebook Live, or you can call us on our number, which is 07539 661 744. That number again, that's 07539 661 744. Facebook is Starr Radio UK, and our Twitter handle is @Starr Radio UK. So I'm going to take a short break here, but by all means, please get your questions in. I've already started seeing a couple of questions come in, and they don't necessarily have to relate to what we're talking about today. If it's something to do with a past program that you had this burning question on your mind and you really like some answers, by all means, go for it. Okay, so we'll take a quick break and then we'll be back in a moment.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Okay. Once again, this is Bebe Clement, and you are tuned in to Bebe Means Business, my weekly radio show on anything and everything to do with business and entrepreneurship and how you can become financially free. And today, the topic of the day is how to use a webinar as a marketing tool. So just before the break, I was talking about some of the things that would be on your flyer, because most people, when they're going to market a webinar, they use a digital flyer. So we're going to be talking about that. Actually, I had an event recently, so I'm going to have ask my producer if he'd be kind enough to just put on the flyer of that event, so I can talk you through some of the things that were on the flyer. Okay. So one of the things that should be on the flyer is the title of the event. The title of the event. So the event that I was talking about, I think Archie is my producer is doing that right now. He's getting the flyer and is about to put it on. But the event I was talking about, the title of the event, that's it. Thank you very much. The title of the event, as you can see, is How to Build Your Own Wealth. So the title has to be bold. It has to be bold enough for everybody to see. Now, if there's a subtitle, you can see the subtitle there, without leaving your day job, that's the subtitle. And you remember I explained earlier the reason why I had a subtitle, because after I'd done my market research and looked for what people were searching for online, I found that the people wanted information on how to start a business, but they didn't want to leave their job. So the subtitle is in smaller text. Okay, so that's what's on there. Then other things that you should have on your flyer include the date. Of course, we need to know what date it is, and you can see that on the right-hand side. It was the 20th of February. It should also have the time. Now, the time, I've seen some flyers where it just has the time that it starts. That's not good enough. I need to know, as a potential delegate, how long it is going to last. So, so you need to say 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. This was an all-day webinar. So 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So the beginning and the end, so that I can plan my day, I can plan my time. Okay. Then you need to have things like login details if you're having a Zoom webinar, something like that. If you can put it on the flyer, fine. In this case, there were 4 people already on the flyer, and we didn't want to overload the flyer with information. So on your registration details, of course, you should have information about how they can log in, or once they register, you automatically send them something telling them how they can log in on the day. That login should also have the password. Don't forget the password. Sometimes people do that. They put in the login details and they forget the password. Now, if it is your personal brand, then your picture should be on there. And you can see me there in the left-hand corner. Your picture should be on there. Make sure that it is a high-resolution picture. High-resolution picture. I think it's about 300 mm. I think that's what the graphic designers require, at least 300 mm. And you should look professional. So you need not something like you would wear to, I don't know, a nightclub or something like that. You need to look professional. You don't have to look like $1 million, but you do have to look, you know, pretty decent and professional. Okay. Then the registration details. So you can see there, on the left-hand side, it tells you how to register. It gives you the link to go to register. Now, can I say, because people cannot click on that link, it is bothersome. It is very bothersome for them to have to type all that out somewhere. So what I would suggest is, when you are sending the flyer, when you're sending the soft copy of the flyer, maybe you're sending it via WhatsApp, or you're posting it on social media, put the link so that they can just click the link. Put the live link in accompaniment with the flyer, so they can just click the link rather than have to copy all that down, because you will lose some people. Some people will say, I just can't even be bothered, and you will lose some potential delegates. So make sure you click the link. Now, we've got the registration details. You need to make it as easy as possible for them to do so. So not some long, convoluted procedure for them to sign up for your program. If they go to your web page, it should be very easy. They just put in their registration details, they got the payment details, click, 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 and they're done. Not some back and forth thing. People haven't got time for that. Okay, so then part of the registration process is this, and this again is how you begin to build up your marketing, or how to use this as marketing. Part of the registration process should be to get their basic details. So you need, on the registration page or the registration document, you need a space for them to write their name. You need a space for them to write their website details, if they've got a website, their basic details, like their email address, so that you can communicate with them. And the whole point of that is that you will now have their information. You've now captured their information. And then from there on, you can begin to send them information about future events. You can also connect with them periodically. Perhaps you do a blog. You can start sending them your blog, and you begin to build up a relationship with them. As you remember, I've said many times on this program, we are in the age of relationship selling. So once you've captured that data, you can then begin to send them information and connect with them. So if possible, ask them where they heard about the webinar. That's very, very important, because that informs your marketing strategy. So if, for instance, 100 people sign up for your webinar and 80 of them say, oh, I heard about your webinar through a friend, then you know that there's no need for you to be spending ridiculous amounts of money on online marketing strategies, paid online marketing strategies, because the majority of your delegates are coming through word of mouth. So then you just need to get the word out. You just need to get the word out and don't have to spend ridiculous amounts of money on marketing. But if they tell you that, okay, you did a paid FB marketing strategy, and that's where we learned about it, then you know that's what you need to be targeting when it comes to your next event. Okay. The next thing is, I would encourage you to, if there are not too many people, do a little bit of background check on your delegates. Have a look at their website. See what it is they do that you could offer them in the future. Okay? So you'll be able to offer them some information about it in the future. So I'd also encourage you to have an early bird period. As you can see on there, you can see the price, £99, and then you can see the early bird. The early bird is £85. And the whole essence of the early bird is to get people to sign up quickly so that you are aware of how many people are likely to attend. Having said that, can I just say that when it comes to our people, Black Africans, they tend to be lastminute.com people. But at least it gives you some kind of idea as to the number of people who might be coming along. Now, ensure that your early bird finishes quickly enough so that it's not near the date, the actual date. So my early bird on this event finished on the 2nd of February. The actual event wasn't until the 20th. And the whole reason for that is if it's too close to the actual date of the event, people think, it doesn't matter, I might as well just wait. And you don't want that. You want people to register early enough so that they've made, the decision is made early enough, because life happens, anything can happen. Nearer the date, something else could crop up and they might decide not to attend. But if you can get them on the early bird, even better. Now, you can see on there that I had a free offering. I gave a free copy of my book and let them know that it's free. So you can see that the word free is written in red. So that again helps delegates think, oh, actually, this is good. This is not just a webinar. I'm also going to get a book. How much is that book? That book is normally $12.99, but I'm going to get it included in my £99. Not bad. And that helps, especially if you've got doing a webinar that's quite pricey. Of course, if this webinar was only £20, there's no way I would include a free book of $12.99. But because, in these times, £99 is quite a bit of money for most people. So just that little bit extra might just be the thing that tips them over the edge in deciding that, yes, I'm going to come to this event because I'm killing two birds with one stone here. I'm not just getting the webinar, but I'm also going to get a book. So those kind of things are important. It doesn't have to be a book. You might not have a book, but there might be something that you can offer as an incentive to encourage them to come along. Okay. Can I now go back to just me? Thank you, my producer. Thank you, Archie. You can take off the flyer. Thank you. Okay. Then you should have payment details. Payment details, same thing. It's easier if you have account details on the actual flyer, but that might not always be possible because, like I said, don't overcrowd your flyer. There's nothing more off-putting than having too much information on the flyer because people just get confused and then, okay, what's this, what's that, what's the other, and they just switch off. So if you can't have the payment details on there, let them know where they can find the payment details. So payment details on registration forms, something like that, so that they know where to find it. Okay. If your business is your brand, if you're building your business as a personal brand, your logo should be on there where possible. Your picture, like I've said, brand the event. If you remember from the flyer that I just showed you, it said at the top, Bebe Clement hosts. So even though I had guest speakers on that platform, anybody looking at it would know that it's my event. I wasn't just speaking with other people, it was my event, and I had other people speaking on my platform. Again, that goes to your marketing. It says, oh, this person is somebody so worthwhile that other people are willing to speak on her platform, because it's not everybody's platform that you want to speak on. So those kind of things are very, very important. Now, if you have contact details, make sure that you have the contact details on there, name and number. Now, that is important. That is very, very important. Even though you have registration details, you also have to have contact details on there, because some people want some more information. Some people want not just more information, they might want to negotiate something, or they might want to bring something along, or speak to you about something else. It's important that they have a contact. Now, when you put contact details on there, make sure that those contact details are live. So don't put a number on there that when they ring it, the phone is dead, or they cannot get hold of anybody. Or if it's a voicemail, make sure you're checking that voicemail so that if people have left a message, you can call them back. Because if you don't do that, that puts people off, and they will tell other people that you're unprofessional. So you don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen. You don't want to be branded as being unprofessional. Okay. Then you need to decide if you want to do the webinar alone, or if you want other speakers. On the one that we just showed, you can see that there were other speakers. Ensure that you have reputable speakers on your platform. Now, I cannot overemphasize this, because if you don't, it is going to badly affect your brand. And I'll share an example of what happened to me recently, and I think it's very important that I share this. And I actually hope that the people involved are listening, because this is really important. Now, I was invited to come to attend a webinar. It was a paid webinar. And the first thing that happened was, as far as I was concerned, it was misrepresented, because what I was told it was about was not what it was about when I signed up. But okay, I'm here now, so I decided to listen. So the guy talking, the guest speaker speaking was a property developer. And according to him, he had built up a very large property portfolio, which ran into the millions. And he was just talking about how he'd done it, and and talking about this and talk about that and everything. But I don't know, I something about the way he was speaking. I mean, everybody was oohing and eyeing, because he was throwing the numbers around, 10 million here and 20 million there, and he was throwing the numbers around. So a lot of the listeners were, very enthralled. But something about what he was saying somehow did not ring true to me. So while he was speaking, I began to Google him. And I initially couldn't find him, because there were a few people with his name. But I began to dig a little deeper. I knew some areas I could dig. So I began to dig in places like Companies House, the Insolvency Register, and things like that, because I was just a little about some of the things he was saying. Good job that I did. So as I was doing that, I found some information on this guy, or somebody that had the same name as him, let me put it like that, that was very uncomfortable. It talked about how he had defrauded a number of people, and how he was just a scam, basically, and how he went around boasting about how he had built up this property empire. And it was actually that he'd set up a group of companies that were so intertwined that it was impossible to know which of the companies did what. And he'd purposely done that because he was defrauding people. And when they got to court, it was very, very difficult for the court to even untangle what these companies were. And he had a number of aliases, so they weren't even sure whether it was him and everything like that. So when I found this information, I then quickly sent a WhatsApp message to the guy who was organizing the event, the guy whose platform it was. And I said, I hope this is not our speaker. And so he said, oh, no, I don't think it's him. No. But thank you for flagging that up. I'll have my team look into it. So I was like, he seemed quite blasé about that. And then I was digging a little deeper. And then he said something that was contained in some of the information I'd seen online. So I sent another message to the guy on the platform. I said, I actually think it is this guy, and these are the reasons why I think it is him. So again, he was very blasé about it. Anyway, long story short, at the end of the webinar, when we came off, the guy that whose platform it was called me and said, oh, I don't think it was him, and everything like that. And I said, no, actually, I'm very convinced now that it was him. But the point I'm trying to make was, for me, that was the end of not only the speaker's credibility, but the guy who had invited me to the platform. There is no way that I would ever pay to go to any of his events. If I know anybody that's ever going to go to his events, I'm definitely going to warn them against him, even if he didn't know beforehand. But the fact that he was so blasé about it affected his credibility. So those kind of things are very, very important. The kind of speakers, if you're going to have other speakers, make sure you've checked out your speakers so they don't mess up your name. This is really, really important, because it takes years to build a brand, but like most things, it takes very little to destroy it, and you don't want somebody to destroy your name. Okay, I'm going to take some questions now, if that's okay. Some have come in, so let's have a look and see what we have. Okay, so this one says, Bebe, I was speaking to a friend of mine who is a member of a mastermind group. Okay, this is alien to me, but he raves about how the group has helped his business. Are you aware of this group and what they do and how I could contact them? Trevor. Okay, right, so a mastermind group, for those of you who don't know, actually, yeah, okay, Trevor. So first of all, Trevor, thank you very much for that question. And it's really good that you raised that, because I think people are becoming more aware of mastermind groups. A mastermind group is a group of entrepreneurs that meet on a regular basis to brainstorm, to share ideas, and to problem solve in practical ways. So it's not a networking group. It's not a networking group. The aim of a networking group is to find new customers and more business. That is not what a mastermind group does. A mastermind group exists to help you strategize, to work strategically on your business rather than in your business, because that's what happens with a lot of us, particularly when we're first of all starting out or we're solopreneurs. We spend so much time on the day-to-day working of the company that we don't have enough time to strategize. And as a result, our companies remain small and don't fulfill their full potential. So a mastermind group, like I said, is a group of entrepreneurs that meet regularly. And I actually, one of the reasons why I know about this is because I actually run a mastermind group. Well, actually, I run 3 now. I started off with 1 last year, but it grew so much that I now I'm oversubscribed and I run 3. So yes, Trevor, I hope that has answered your question. And if you would like to know about my mastermind group, just let me know. Send me your details, or send my producer your details, and I will send you some information about my mastermind group. My mastermind group runs in 6-week cycles, and it's £50 for each cycle. And like I said, I'm oversubscribed, and I'm now running 3 of them. So, Trevor, I hope that helped you. The next question is, dear presenter, how can we use webinars to promote our winery? Someone said that we could have a webinar for connoisseurs, but how do we reach their audience? Okay. And that was sent in by David. David, hi. Thank you very much for taking the time to answer that question. Well, the things that I'm discussing today they're applicable to any industry. It doesn't matter which industry. They're applicable to any industry. But it's very important, like you said, that you identify those connoisseurs clients. So it might be that you need to sit down with them and ask them for their contact list, or where their clients are likely to position themselves online. And that is where you need to go. I'm not sure actually where wine drinkers congregate online. But I'm sure if you ask the connoisseurs, they would tell. I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find it. There's probably some, some group, or probably lots of groups on, on wine drinkers, that kind of thing. But that is where you need to go. You need to establish a presence wherever they are online. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions. Okay, dear Bebe, thanks for the wonderful work that you are doing. Thank you. The program has been top-notch as usual. I appreciate the advantage of webinars as part of my marketing tools, but I'm not a good or confident speaker. Will I lose authenticity if I get someone else to host my webinars? If so, do you run training on developing public speaking skills? Tolu. Okay. Hi, Tolu. Thank you so much for your question. Very, very good question, actually. First of all, I believe that part of being an entrepreneur or a business person is that you must learn to be able to speak about your product. You must. So if you do have issues in that area, then you need to get help, and you need to deal with those issues. It's because you have to network. Even if you're not, if you're not doing webinars, you have to network. You have to be able to respond to questions about your product. So if you do have problems in that area, then yes, by all means, you need to get training. And I do seminars and stuff like that, training on how to speak well in public. But yes, you can have somebody else come and speak in your stead. But if you're building your business as a personal brand, people want to connect with you initially. I think having people on your platform works when you've built up a community of people who know who you are, and they respect you enough to respond or listen to somebody that you would recommend, because that's basically what you're doing. If you have somebody speaking your platform, you're saying, I trust this person to speak on my behalf. Now that works, I think, best when you have already built up a following, you've built up trust, they know who you are, they consider you the go-to person, that kind of thing. So I wouldn't do it initially until you are quote unquote well known in your space. I think you should be the face of your product, particularly, like I said, if you're building it as a brand. I also want to say a huge good afternoon to Oluwatobi Akindele, who's joining us on Facebook all the way from Nigeria, I think he is. Hi, Toby. Thank you very much for joining us. I also want to thank a couple of people who tuned in last week that I'm so sorry I forgot to mention. And one of them is Olamide Bintu, I think her name is, Olamide Bintu, and she was calling all the way from America. So Olamide, if you're listening or you're watching, thank you so much. I do apologize. I forgot to do a shout out last week, but here's a double shout out this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, now where do I market it? Where do I market it? Particularly on social media. Again, that will be determined by who your target audience is. So if the webinar, for instance, is for youth, then you'd market it on places like TikTok, Instagram, places like that. You don't go and market it on LinkedIn because no youth are coming to LinkedIn, so there's no point. The average rule is to promote your webinar 4 to 6 weeks in advance. That's the average rule. 4 to 6 weeks in advance. That gives you plenty of time to, one, if you have an early bird, if you're doing an early bird promotion, that gives you enough time. So maybe you do the early bird promotion for 2 weeks, and that still gives you about 4 weeks to have people pay at full price. And then also gives them enough time to do a bit of background work on you. Maybe they don't know you very well. They're not sure. Okay, I like the topic, but I don't know who she is. That gives them enough time to ask around about you and make an informed decision as to whether they want to part with their hard-earned money, as indeed they should. Just look for some information on you. Okay, price. How do I price it? This is probably the biggest question that I get. How do I price my webinar? And again, this will depend on what you're trying to achieve. So, and I've got to be honest, a lot of it is trial and error. A lot of it is trial and error. But what you don't want to do, if you're confident that your content is good, and your content should be good, if you're confident that your content is good, do not undervalue or underprice your webinar. Because if you let's say you price it at £100 and you know that it is worth 350, it will then be difficult, and you think, okay, let me do it £100 for the first one and then I'll do it up to 350. That will become very difficult to do because already it's in people's psyche that, okay, this is worth £100. Even if they come along and the content is really good that they think they should be paying more, it's already in their psyche, so it's difficult to do that. So then again, you also be informed by what is it that I'm trying to achieve here. So some webinars are held because you just want to impart some knowledge. It's not really about the money. You just want to impart the knowledge. Again, like I said, some people just want to stay connected to their clients. But if you're using the webinar as a marketing tool, which is what this particular program is about, then of course you want to make some money. So you could, having said that, you could offer a free webinar. Now, when you offer a free webinar, you could do that, particularly if you're just starting out, you don't really have a name yet, nobody knows who you are, and you're trying to get people through the door. At least let me just even get them on my platform. Then a free webinar might be a good idea. Or you could look for a sponsor or a collaborator for the webinar, so that you are able to offer it free but still make some money. You're able to offer it free to your delegates, but you still get paid. So I'll give an example. a few weeks ago, I did a webinar over Valentine's, and it was called Money, What's Love Got to Do with It? And I did it, it was aimed mainly at married couples who might be under financial pressure, or, you know, squabbling a bit about money. So I was doing that webinar, and it was heavily subsidized, and it was subsidized because a little while before I did the webinar, I had been approached by a company, and they had said to me, Bebe, we've seen your webinar. Those people are the kind of people we want to engage with. Could we ask one of our representatives to speak on your platform on the day? So I thought, okay, yeah. When I saw what it was that they offered, I thought, yes, this is actually something that my delegates would be interested in doing. But I'm not doing it for free. There's no way I'm going to let you have access to my clients for free. So we worked out a fee that we were both comfortable with. And so that subsidized the webinar. So I was able to offer it to my delegates at a subsidized rate. I think it was about 15 or 20 pounds. So I was able to offer it at that fee because I'd had a collaboration with somebody else, and I was still getting paid behind the scenes. I wasn't dependent on the delegates' money. So that's something you might want to think about. Also, you can use a webinar as bait to promote either a paying event. So if it's free, you use it as bait, and then during the webinar, you promote a paying event or product, or you charge a nominal fee, and then you introduce a more expensive product during the webinar. And we call this, so for instance, I might do like the one I did last week, how to build wealth, or how to start a small business. So I might do that for, let's say, £30. Okay, heavily subsidized, £30. But during the coaching, during the webinar, I might then introduce a 6-month coaching session that I have that is £500. Now, we call this upselling. Upselling is where you introduce a more expensive product and get people to buy it. So I might do something like that. Now, that only works if you know what you're doing in your webinar. If your content is so good that people are so impressed that they can't wait to get their hands on even more of your information and what it is that you're providing. So if you've come on the webinar and you've messed up, you've not engaged with your content, you hardly even know what you're talking about, your delivery is poor, excuse me, oh, excuse me, excuse me, your delivery is poor, there is no way that you're going to be able to upsell or introduce a more expensive product. So it's very, very important that your delivery is good, people are enjoying the webinar, the information you give is top-notch, it's current, it's helpful, it's useful, then they're more likely to go for a more expensive product. Can I just say this? We have discovered actually that people who pay, and this happens whether it is a webinar, whether it is a live seminar, whatever, people who pay to go to an event actually spend more money at that event. So, and I say that because you might be thinking, well, if I offer it free, then they're more likely to be appreciative because they haven't had to pay for this event. They're more likely to be appreciative, and if I introduce a more expensive event, they're more likely to pay for it. That's not necessarily true. People who have actually paid to come to your event are more likely to pay more for a more expensive one. So keep that in mind. Okay. Now, of course, you're not always speaking on your platform. Sometimes you do a webinar for somebody else. I'm about to do a webinar for a faith group. So again, speaking about price, how much do I charge them for me to speak on their platform? So again, you might want to do per head. Okay, so how many people are you expecting? Are you charging for the event? So if they're making money out of having you on their platform, so if you've got a name and the draw for them is the fact that you are going to be speaking at their event, so they're going to be making money because it is you that's coming along, then of course you should be charging them more. You might also just want to give a fixed amount and then do it that way. So it depends on the number of factors. And like I said, a lot of this is trial and error, but you will find what you're comfortable with as you go along. And to be honest, you win some, you lose some. Some you know you don't make a lot of money on. Some you do make a lot of money on. And especially if you're just starting out and you're still building your brand, you got to pay your dues. You've got to pay your dues. There's some things you're just gonna have to do for free and close your eyes to it, and that's it. Okay. Now try to have a circular outlook towards your products. So for instance, if it's expensive, you can reward them for investing in you. So just like I did on the flyer that I showed you, I had a free book as a discount. Or you could offer them a discount on future events. So something like, if you sign up for this event, the next 2 events you can get at half price, or you get 20% off for the next 2 events, that kind of thing. Then create an urgency. Create an urgency. So if you sign up today, you will get 20% discount on my next webinar. So let's say you're promoting your next webinar at this webinar. Let's say you're having a webinar today and you're promoting another webinar. You can tell the delegates, if you sign up today, you will get 20% off. But after today, that offer is gone. Tomorrow, it will be full price. That creates an urgency, and most people are likely to take advantage of it on the day. Okay. Now, once somebody registers, acknowledge receipt of that registration. So either send them an email or something thanking them for registering, because at the end of the day, this is their hard-earned money, and it is their time. And for me, time is even more expensive than money. So if somebody is investing in me, and that's really what they're doing when you're holding a webinar and they attend, they're investing in you. They're investing their time in you. So you should be grateful for that. And yes, we know they're paying, but notwithstanding, you should be grateful for that. So treat your delegates well. So send them something to say thank you for attending. Send them something that will make them excited about attending. Let them know that you are excited about having them, which you should be. I'm always excited when I'm having a webinar. I still can't get over the fact that people pay to hear what I have to say. I really can't get over that fact. So I'm always excited. I'm always excited that I'm going to say something that's going to change somebody's life, because whenever I speak, that is always my intention. I'm not interested in the money. I'm interested in changing lives, and if the money follows that, then thank God for that. But I'm interested in changing lives. So decide what platform you're going to use. If you're going to use a Zoom platform, make sure you set out the login details. Make sure your content is top-notch, ladies and gentlemen. Top-notch content. And familiarize yourself with your content. Practice many times over. My family will tell you, even on the morning of a webinar, I am practicing right up until maybe an hour before I go on the webinar. And again, if you're going to have other people speak on the platform, you need to practice prior to that. Don't leave it until the day. So the last webinar we had, there were 4 of us engaged. So we had 2 meetings in the week running up to the actual event. One of the meetings was to iron out technical stuff. So everybody, we went through the whole thing. Okay, if I hand over the platform to you, you hand it back to me. We made sure that we were able to do it. Everybody was familiar with who's coming next. What are you going to do when you finish? Hand it over to this person. Let's take a break here. We went through the program. Even though they all had a copy of the program, we went through the program. All these things are important. Do not hold a webinar and think that you're going to wing it on the day, because I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, people will see through that and it will affect your credibility. So don't do that. Make sure that your information is top-notch and it's fit for purpose. So if you're using a PowerPoint, make sure that your PowerPoint is clean, not too much on your PowerPoint. Do not present a PowerPoint with information on it from top to bottom. That it wears people out. So rule of thumb is bullet points. At best, bullet points. You should know what is behind the bullet points. You should have the information at hand as to how to expand that bullet point. But bullet points and then some visuals. That's it. Don't overload the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, and then do a run through, like I said, and make sure it's good. Okay, I'm going to really quickly round up on this, but I think it's important to talk about on the day. So like I said, make sure your delivery is top notch. Now listen, can I say this? When you are speaking, people are not interested in your drama. They're not interested in your drama. And what I mean by that is, whatever is happening behind the scenes, do not let that affect how the way you deliver your webinar. So I don't care whether you've just received some bad news or you and your husband have just had the fight of your life. When you come to do a webinar, bring your A game. Put all that behind you and bring your A game. Don't start apologizing for your poor delivery. People are not paying for your poor delivery. They are paying for you to be on your A game. They are paying for you to be psyched up. They are paying for you to be pumped up. They are paying for you to motivate them. So make sure that you do that. You're just going to have to set your face like flint and bring it. Okay. What you are looking for is to turn your delegates into fans. That's what you're looking for. Turn your delegates into fans. And so I often look for what people say afterwards. I remember I did a webinar about 4 weeks ago, and when everybody left, there was a particular lady. She didn't realize that she hadn't signed off. So she was talking to somebody in her house, and she said to that person, "Man, that was the best, I think it was £20. That was the best £20 that I've ever spent in my life." And I heard her, and I was so happy. That is what you want to hear. You want to get your delegates, you want to turn them into fans so that they go and do your marketing for you. You don't have to spend a lot of money. They go and do your marketing for you because they will tell other people. If you're really good at what you do, they will tell other people. All right, I'm about to do a collaboration with another lady. She does a lot of business coaching, and she asked me to come and speak at a couple of her coaching sessions. And she said to me, she rang me and she said to me, somebody called me and they said, "I want to sign up because I see that you have Bebe speaking there, and I've heard her speak before, and I really want to hear her speak again." So it wasn't even my platform. It was somebody else's platform. And I think that is just such an honor to have somebody sign up to somebody else's platform just because they saw that you would be speaking there. That's what you are aiming for. That's what you are aiming for. All right, on the day, don't wear things that would distract from your message. So wear things that you don't have to look £1,000,000, but wear something nice, nothing low cut so that, attention is drawn away from what you're saying to something else, but, look decent. Choose your backdrop. Most times my backdrop is what you can see there. This is my roller banner, and it's not too big so that people are staring at that alone and they're not listening to what I'm saying. But at least it's part of my brand. And then oftentimes I will do that so that you can see what is on top. It says Bebe Clement, put your signature on live. So that will give you a bit of information about what I stand for. Technical stuff, if you can't multitask, you might need to have somebody else do the admin or the technical stuff for you, so that if people are putting things in the chat, somebody else is checking it for you so you don't miss things. Or if you have to admit people into the room, you might not be able to do that and be speaking, or you might lose your train of thought. So get somebody else to handle all the techie stuff for you if need be. Taking questions. You need to learn to be confident in how to take questions. And of course, you're not supposed to be Google. You're not supposed to be an encyclopedia, so they don't expect you to know the answer to every question. But if you don't know the answer, you should be able to signpost people to where they can get the answer. Okay, after the event, ask somebody to do a video testimonial of the event and blitz that on social media. Because again, these things matter. So sometimes somebody might not read an advert, but they will listen to a video testimonial. I know there was one a lady did for me a little while ago, which was just fantastic. It was just fantastic. She was so excited. And get them to do it immediately after, because then they're still pumped up, they're still excited. So get them to do it immediately after, and then blitz it on social media. Put information on social media to let them know that event held. Again, that's part of your marketing strategy. It informs them that you are operating in this space. If people are paying to hear what you have to say about a particular topic, that means you're worth listening to. Otherwise, people will not be paying. So again, that's part of your marketing strategy, and it helps you for future events. Okay, make sure that you thank your delegates for attending. If it's an email or if it's a shout out on social media, whatever, just thank them for attending because it's important. Take your clients or your delegates seriously, and they will take you seriously. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end it there. Thank you very much. It's been your girl, Bebe Clement, and I've been talking about how to use a webinar as a marketing tool. I hope you have enjoyed it and you have learned something. And I will be here again, God willing, same time next week. And remember, as always, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life. Bye-bye.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finances?